The auctioneer called Lot 14, 12 Hereford heifers. Burl Stanton raised his paddle, 4,800. The yard went quiet for a bid. Then a voice from the back said, 4,900. Every head turned. It was a 16-year-old kid with a notepad. Burl Stanton laughed out loud. He said, "Loud enough for the whole yard, son." "You lost?" 3 ranchers behind him laughed too. The auctioneer looked at the boy over his glasses. The boy looked straight back and said, "No, sir. I'm not lost. Are we bidding or are we talking?" The yard went quiet. Not uncomfortable quiet, the kind of quiet when something unexpected takes control of a room. Jim Reed, an auctioneer with 30 years of experience, later said he had called 10,000 auctions. He had never once stopped his own bid to listen to a 16-year-old speak. That day, he did. My name is Drew Callahan. I was 16 years old the day I stood at that livestock auction. My father was at home, too sick to stand for more than 10 minutes. Our herd was down to 4 cows. I had driven 40 minutes to that yard to either rebuild it or watch everything my father built disappear. My dad had run a cow-calf operation in Granger County for 19 years. 60 acres. Rotating pastures. Strong Hereford genetics he had built carefully over time. Then his kidneys failed in January 2023. Dialysis 3 times a week. By spring, he couldn't work the cattle. I was doing everything. School at 7, farm at 3, every single day. We sold 12 head in February just to cover medical bills. That left us 4 cows, not enough to sustain a working herd. The minimum viable cow-calf operation requires at least 15 breeding females to generate meaningful income. My dad taught me that when I was 12. I needed to get from 4 to 15 with the money I had saved from selling hay and doing fence work for neighbors. Here is something most people outside ranching don't understand. The USDA defines a viable cow-calf operation by the number of animal units, specifically breeding females, needed to generate enough annual income to cover operating costs. Below 15 animal units on a small operation, income rarely covers expenses. My dad had spent 19 years building to 60. We were down to 4. I had 1 auction to change that. I studied the Granger County livestock auction records for 6 weeks. Public access, all online. Every lot sold. Every price. I identified 3 upcoming lots of quality-bred Hereford heifers likely to come in under market value. Not because the cattle were poor, but because the seller needed fast liquidity. My dad always said the best buys come from good sellers in hard situations. Just like us. My dad couldn't come. He sat in his recliner that morning and watched me get ready. I had my notepad with bid limits written for each lot. He looked at it for a long time, then looked at me and said, "You know what you're doing." Not a question. A statement. I nodded, picked up the keys, and drove. I arrived at the yard 40 minutes early. I walked every pen, checked every animal, looked at confirmation, hooves, eyes, body condition scores, the same way my dad had taught me since I was 9. By the time the auction started, I had updated my notepad twice. Burl Stanton walked past me 2 times without even noticing me. He would notice me later. Lot 14 came up at 10:47 am. 12 Hereford heifers, 18 to 22 months. I had already watched them carefully. Good structure. Clean movement. My limit was 5,200. Burl Stanton opened at 4,800. I raised my notepad. After the laughter, the yard went quiet. Jim Reed looked at me for a few seconds, then said into the microphone, "I have 4,900 from the young man in the back. Do I hear 5? There was a pause. Then Burl raised his paddle. 5,000. I had prepared for this. Auction rules allowed me to bid as long as I could pay. I had a cashier's check ready. I had confirmed everything in advance. I came in knowing exactly what I was doing. Burl hadn't expected that. 5,000 from Burl. I raised my notepad. 5,100. Burl glanced at his friends, then went to 5,200. That was my limit. I looked at the cattle, then at my notepad. I put it in my pocket and raised my hand. 5,300. Burl held his paddle for a few seconds. Jim Reed called the bid. Once. Twice. Then Burl lowered it. The gavel came down. Sold. 5,300. No one laughed this time. I wrote one word in my notepad. Done. I bought 2 more lots that morning. 8 bred heifers and 4 cow-calf pairs. 24 animals total. $14,600. A full herd rebuilt in one morning by someone no one in that yard had taken seriously. Helen Price stopped me at the registration window and asked for 5 minutes. She said she was the Granger County Livestock Extension Agent and had watched every bid I made. She asked where I learned animal evaluation. I said, my father. Since I was 9. She handed me her card and said, call me Monday. The USDA Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program provides grants and technical support for operators under 40. Helen connected me the next week. I qualified for livestock management assistance, herd health planning, pasture rotation design, and marketing guidance, all at no cost. None of it shows up, unless you ask. I drove home with 24 cattle in a borrowed trailer. Dad was in the recliner when I got back. He heard the trailer before he saw it. He stood up slowly and came to the porch. He watched me unload every animal into the south pasture. He didn't say anything. When the last one was in, he sat down again. I sat beside him on the porch step. Burl Stanton came to the farm 3 weeks later. No call, just showed up. I was fixing fence when he walked over and leaned on the rail. He looked at the cattle for a long moment and said, "Those are good animals." I said, "Yes, sir. They are." He nodded once and left. That was all. Every state has a county agricultural extension office. Every one offers programs for young and beginning farmers. Most people don't know they exist. Helen told me their office has resources left unused every year because no one under 30 walks in. Walk through the door. Dad went back to dialysis the Monday after the auction. Same schedule, same chair. But something changed. He started asking about the herd, body condition scores, calving dates, rotation plans, not to check me, just to talk about it. The way he used to talk with his father. Now he talked with me. The first calf crop came the next spring. 19 calves from 24 cows, a strong first-year result. Helen came out to document it. She said our records were the most complete she had seen from a new operation in 6 years. I told her my dad always said records are the difference between a farm and a business. She wrote that down. I'm 17 now. Our herd is 31 head. Dad still does dialysis 3 times a week. But on the other days, he walks the fence line with me. Slowly, but he walks it. Last spring he said, "Drew, you saved something I spent 19 years building." I told him the truth. "Dad, you saved it. You just taught me how